we will work through the revision sheet 1 for algebra to prepare you for your test next week. Some of these go back to our vocab from this term and also last term. The terms in the expression are just the bits and pieces or the parts. So you just have to list the 4x plus the 9 plus the y plus the 7z without the operations, and they are the terms of that expression. Okay, the coefficients of each pronumeral. So back to our vocab, we would say 4 is the coefficient of x. Okay, so up here we have a variable of x and its coefficient is 4. There's another one there that is set up the same. So 7 is the coefficient of z. Okay, so you need to know what a coefficient is and you need to know what a pronumeral is to answer that question. Pronumerals are also just variables. So we have an x, a y and a z, but the y has no coefficient. It's just a variable or a pronumeral by itself. Okay, the constant term would be the 9. Okay, it's got no variable involved, so that it's not going to change value. It's always going to have a value of 9, whereas the other terms might change value depending on what the x, y or z was worth. Write an expression for each of these without using the multiply or divide symbol. Okay, so the product actually means multiply. We know product means multiply, but we can't use those symbols, so we just write it as BC, because BC actually means B multiplied by C. But this is our answer because it's said to use without the operation sign. The reason we don't use the multiply sign in algebra is that often it could get mixed up with an x. So in maths we just leave out the multiply sign so we don't get mixed up in our workings, and we just write it without the sign. The sum, so sum means plus. The sum of D and E is multiplied by 6. So we can't use those signs. So we have D plus E. The sum of those, they have to be added together, is multiplied by 6. Okay, but the better way to write this is the 6 outside the bracket and then D plus E. So 6 is multiplied by the sum of those two numbers. And we've been looking at that without expanding and factorising. Okay, the difference, so that's subtract the difference of f and twice the value of g. So we can just write our 2g, the difference of f. Okay, f take away 2g. So twice the value of g is really 2 times g, but we can't write it with a multiply sign. So we just write 2 multiplied by g like that, and the difference is our subtract with our f. Okay, so it's just going back over some key vocab from our algebra unit mainly, and product, sum and difference, we actually looked at that at the start of the year as well. So those terms continue to be important throughout your maths. Product, sum, difference, and the other one is quotient. They're not going to go away in your maths, they'll always be used. Right, the key word here is substitute, and we've got some values for m and n. So 8m actually means 8 multiplied by m, and our m value is 3. So we've subbed in a 3. Substitution, take away 6, all divided by 9. So we say 8 times 3 is 24. 24 take away 6 gives us 18 over 9. And our answer is 2. You can have 2 over 1 if you want. 18 divided by 9 is 2, or you can write it as 2 over 1. Both are fine. Okay, we've got m times n here. m multiplied by n. Remember, we don't put the multiply sign in because some people might query whether it's a multiply sign or an x. So in algebra we just put them together without the multiply sign, but we realize that in this case it just means 3 multiplied by 5. Okay, take away 7 multiplied by m, which is 3. So we have 15, take away 21, and negative 6 is our answer. Alright, this here is simplifying. So sometimes we can rearrange. We in class sort of circled, well, they all go together. They're all k's. It's 8 k's, take away 6 k's gives us 2 k's. And then we have to plus our 3k back on the end. So that one is an example of all of the terms being like terms, and you can group them all together. This time we have 10x and we're going to group that with 4x. Okay, or in class we would circle them and take the operation to the left. Okay, then we're going to put together our take away 5 and our plus 7. These two would be grouped together, our constants. Therefore we have 6x left for this bracket. Negative 5 plus 7 is going to get us to positive 2. Negative 5 plus 7 will get us to positive 2, and that's our answer. We grouped together these terms because they had a coefficient and a variable, and we grouped together these terms because they are our constants. Righto, down here we're going to group together 9p, and it's going to group with take away 2p. Okay, so we're rearranging. In class we would just circle them. Plus 8q is gone with plus 7q. Okay, so we've got our p's in one bag and our q's in another bag. So we end up with 7p's plus 8 plus 17 is 15q. Righto, over here we're going to group together our 6a's with our 5a's and take the operation that's sitting to the left of 5a, which is an add. Then we've got positive 4ab because of the little plus sign that was sitting there, and it's going to go with take away. So those two went together and those two go together. Take away AB. Then we've got take away B left here all by itself. So I'll put it down there. 6 apples plus 5 apples, or A's, gives us 11 A's. Positive 4 AB's take away, that's 1 AB to give us positive 3 AB's. And take away B has to stay by itself. It cannot be grouped with either of those terms in that expression. Some more simplifying. So this simplifying was focusing on collecting like terms and adding and subtracting the like terms. This is more simplifying, but you can see we're focusing on multiplying and dividing to simplify these. So we always say M for multiply, M for mash it all together. We just say 3 multiplied by 4 gives us 12. And then we have A and a B and a C and a D left. A, B, C, D. That's it. Multiplying's really easy. Okay, sometimes people might write it just like 6 times 8 is going to be grouped together, multiplied by R times S from here, multiplied further by S times T from here. Then we recognise 6 8s as 48. We have 1 R, we have 2 S's, and we have 1 T. Alright, or up here you can just say 6 8s are 48. I've got 1 R, I've got 2 S's, so it's S squared, and I've got a T. Okay, this time we have to identify the factors. So we can look at this and say it's 2 times 3 times X times Y. For 6xy, Okay, we have to break our factors down. Then we can recognize this as 3 multiplied by 3 multiplied by y multiplied by z. And then we can identify some common factors. Our common factors are 3 and a y. So when we're dividing, we're trying to make the expression smaller. When we divide, we make things smaller. And to make it smaller, we now cancel out those common factors. And then we realize that left on top, we just have 2x left on top. And down the bottom, we have 3z left down the bottom. This time I'm going to recognize that as 5 times 5 for 25 multiplied by m for m squared multiplied by n. Here it's 3 multiplied by 5 multiplied by m multiplied by n multiplied by n for n squared. And I see that there's a 5 in common, and there is an m in common and an n in common. So we can cancel out 5mn at the top and 5mn at the bottom. We cancel out what is common when we're dividing to be left with a smaller term of 5m divided by 3n. I'm going to stop there just because I know from experience if the videos go for much over more than 10 minutes, they take a long time to upload. So I'll pause it here and upload it, and I will continue with the rest of this worksheet as a second video.